Welcome, Mr. Kennis Clark. Thank you so much for being here with us. How are you today?
Man, I'm blessed, bro. I'm blessed. Thank you for having me, man. It was, of course, an honor to be here on this podcast, speaking with you, man, for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for being here. I am literally such a huge fan ever since I got introduced to your music. I think a couple of months ago with the common group, full disclosure, common group that we're in, Black Christian Influencers, or BCI, and we all did like this mashup, and we used one of your songs, which was one of my favorite songs. It was on my top 5 title songs for the year.
Crazy.
Yeah, like I didn't even realize that I listened to it that much. I was like, well, I do like that song. So yeah, we'll definitely be putting a link in the show notes to that song and some other stuff. So no, thank you. I thought the song is dope. Your artistry is dope. So I'm glad that you would be open to have the conversation.
Yeah, appreciate you, man. For sure.
Yeah, so here on Beneath the Surface, we get real, we unpack a lot of stuff, and so we're just hoping for an authentic conversation. I hope you're ready. Audience, I hope you're ready for the gems that are going to be dropped. So let's just jump right into it. So you are a Christian artist, right?
Yes.
Upon my research, I noted that there's been a shift in your career. You were not always a Christian artist, correct?
Right. Of course.
So you talk to me, like, what was that move? Because I don't sing. I only sing in the shower and on the highway when nobody else is in the car, right? But what's that transition like, going from a secular artist to a Christian artist?
That transition, I can say, is, man, it's a lot to unpack in that transition. I didn't just wake up one day and say, "Hey, I'm going to do Christian music." It didn't happen that way. No, it didn't happen that way. There was a heart change that needed to happen. There was a life change that needed to happen.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So, now I'm originally from New York. Born and raised in New York, and I'll try to give you the condensed version. I had an opportunity to move to California off of the premise of an R&B group. Of course, I made sacrifices and things like that to be in California.
Right.
Throughout the whole time, God's hand was still on me, because there's things that could have happened that could took me out. But still, I made it to California. Yeah. I'm there. God still provided. But it was one of those things to where, like, my mom always sowed seeds of the Lord, in our lives and things like that. We went to church very young, but she kind of like loosened up the reins a little bit as we got older. Yeah. And I had to find God in how my walk was for myself. I couldn't be saved through my mom. So, I had to experience life. And this was one of those journeys where I had to experience life still. New York, I was a part of a church. And the church that was a part of, I was, really, really interested. And they kind of, made me feel bad for wearing earrings and things like that. So that kind of led me.
A little legalistic.
Yeah, so that kind of led me to saying, I'm a ixnay on the church day, that type of stuff. So fast forward. So now I'm in California, doing my thing. The group, we had some great success, had some opportunities on the table. Group fell out, didn't work. So I kind of had to start from the bottom again as a solo artist. I did that for about a year or so. And I just noticed, like, it's so interesting where I'm asking for God to bless me and to take my life to the next level, but I'm doing nothing to bring him glory, which is very interesting, because I'm like, oh, thank you, Jesus, for this opportunity. But the songs I got on in my catalog that I'm trying to use to get signed is taking every single person's ear and taking every single person's mind and leading them down a pathway to destruction. Yeah. So it was very interesting. I always found that interesting. But anyway, so there was some opportunities that presented. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I felt you.
Because I want to get the whole. Okay. When you say you found it interesting, it just made me think of how commercialized God is. Not that he really is, but like how we as a society have made it very commercialized, as if he's like a genie and like, just give me these good things, please. But I can do everything else anti what your word says, but please give me these good things. So that's just what it made me think of.
I'm going to be disobedient and everything else, but still want to be covered under your hand. Really interesting. So still anyway,
in heaven,
crazy,
while in hell.
It's so interesting, man. But you know, so I had some success as a solo artist, and you know, I lived the LA life, or that party life, or that industry lifestyle. I lived it, you know, when in drugs, girls, just the look, the feel, the vibe, being around, rubbing elbows with certain people, you know, the parties in the hills, all of that stuff. Yeah. And it was so empty. And there was a point in my life where it was just dark, bro. I'm talking, I'll give you a scenario, man, just to tell you the detail. I'm talking, you know, getting dressed up, going to Halloween raves, popping mollies, having ecstasy, driving drunk back to another party in LA, to the hills, doing what I do. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay, all that type of stuff. It happened. And it was very, very dark. And I felt like if I would have gotten signed as an artist in that time of life, who knows where I would have been right now? Who knows if my walk with God would have been rekindled, or I would have had that rededication. Yeah. So there was a moment, a pivotal moment. A friend of mine, he was a drummer, and he basically, you know, he drummed at church and things like that. And he also was a songwriter. And one day he's like, "Hey man, I need to ride to church. You know, I just got into my girl. Like, you know, I need to ride. You know, can you give me a ride?" So I'm like, all right. And this was the first time since I've lived in California that the invitation to church has happened. So it was just like, church. You know what?
That is a thing.
that is a thing. Let me get dressed, right? So I got dressed, and I drove him to church, and I said, you know, if I'm going to go, I might as well stay for the service, because I'm going to have to drive him back to the house. Like, you know, like, if he needs to ride to church, he's going to need to ride back. You know what I'm saying? So I might as well go. And I went to church, man, and the Spirit wrecked me, bro. It was like everything my mom always said came back. It was like, I remember those moments when I used to pray. It just was like, all right, Lord, this is not a coincidence. You have me here for a reason. Yeah. You know, so let me at least make the initial to start to get my life together, in a sense. And it wasn't like Sunday I went to church and Monday I was saved and sanctified. No, like I still was hosting clubs Saturday night.
Come on,
on Hollywood Boulevard, and then having to go to church on Sunday. Like, but I still went. I still say, you know what, I'm gonna go. And it was a process of me transforming my mind. Romans 12:2, like retransforming my mind, renewing my mind every single day, saying, and doing my studies and being around people, you know, surrounding myself with people of God, men, you know, really, really strong men of God who, you know, at that church, which is Life-Changing Word, was a church under Pastor Derek Fields. You know, these men like took me in and was like, was helping me to be a man, not just to be a male, but to be a man, and what is called to be a man of God. And at that, I started to see people dropping off in my life. I started to see opportunities going away. That label deal that we've been working all year for disintegrated. It was just like, okay, Lord, well, I'm going to be here in your house doing your will. And the opportunity came, or like the word said, hey, you know, like the word came up to say, hey man, yo, Kennis, why don't you do Christian music? I know you do. I know you sing. Do some Christian music. And I'm like, man, I ain't doing no Christian music. and seriously, because I didn't see a lane for it, or I didn't see like how God could use me. I was like, Christian music, what I look like? Because I don't have a traditional gospel voice. I'm not raised in the church. I'm not going to riff and run and do all that stuff. I'm not going to do that. So how can God use me? So I was already putting a limitation on God from what I thought to be what I thought to be the status quo and how he can use me. Right. So I would deny trying to do Christian music like 3-4 times, but I did want to sing. So I decided to join that praise team at that church, which, you know, helped me to understand aspects of worship. and how to use your gift to glorify God. And then the conversation came up again. Man, why don't you do Christian music? No, you know what I'm saying? And it was just like
doing this.
It was like no, and once that deal kind of fell through and things, and it was just me, this gift in my hand, which I'm like, okay, Lord, you gave me this. It was like, all right, well, why? Why did you give me this? What's the purpose for this? You put this in my spirit. I love to do this. What's the purpose for it? And then at that time, that's when, in prayer and in church, and that's when I heard the voice of God saying, you're gonna do music to glorify me. And that was that. And then from then it was, okay, Lord, how can I do what you've called me to do and do it like how you've called me to do it? Like not trying to mimic someone or try to be, how did you call me to do it where I am right now? And making sure it's sound and all of that. So he gave me the idea of a project called AWOL, which is like a mantra I stand by, which is acronym for Another Way of Living. And it really represented everything I was going through at that time, because to some people, it was like, yo, you doing Christian music now? You was just hosting the club like a couple months ago.
You was literally just popping bottles.
Just popping bottles. Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it was like you was just there, but it was like, yo, I don't care. I'm convicted. I'm going AWOL. But of course, I had to mature in my walk. I had to understand the things of God. I had to read the word. I had to pray. I had to show myself approved to understand, like, okay, what's this gonna be? And for a year, I worked on that project. And at the end of the year, I thought that it was ready. And I listened back, I prayed over it, I fasted over it, and it wasn't. There was some things in there. I was like, that's not sound, that's not ready. And I had to have a conversation with my producers and say, hey guys, we got to scrap this.
Can I say something real quick? Please continue with the story, but I have to say something, because you said something, and I think this is why I like your music so much. Is your music, from everything that I've heard, and I haven't listened to the entire catalog, but the songs that I've collected on my playlist, is biblically sound. And I think that's what's so refreshing, because I hear, we are moving, or we have moved into this alternative pop Christian music or hip hop Christian music. And like the beats are dope, you talking about God, but then when I'm listening to, I'm like, that's not the fruit of the spirit. Like that is I'm like, this sound a little prideful, this sound a little boastful. You shout out Gandhi. I'm like, where are we going with this exactly? And so I think that's why I appreciate your music differently. And I'm not trying to blow your head up, but I really do.
No, I appreciate it
differently, because I often think to myself, I'm like, okay, this is a Christian song, right? I can parse out this, and I don't have kids or anything like that, but I'm like, okay, would I still play this if my kid was in the car? Because now I'm telling them this is Christian music, but the music is actually not biblically sound. So it's Christian music, you know?
Yeah.
Sorry, when you said that, I'm like,
we can get to that too, man. We can get to that too. We can really get into that, man. And no shade on any artist that's out there doing it, man. I think what I think happens is like people, like artists, get confined to the idea of either being a Christian artist or being an artist that's Christian, which the famous Lecrae has said one time, which you want to come from a Christian perspective, but you necessarily don't want to sound theoretically just overbearing, like you're just putting too much, scripture into it, or it's too like Bible-like. But then it's like, if you're going to make a song, at least have it traced back to the word. That's what I make sure I try to do. Like, so if anyone is saying like, hey, like, what was that song about? I'm like, oh, this song actually, I got inspiration from the battle, from the battle of Gideon. Like, this is what this came from.
Come on, right? Lord. So you talk to him. I literally just read Gideon yesterday, and
that's crazy.
Like, I kid you not, literally just read Gideon again. And we low-key gonna have a whole Bible study right now. Literally just read Gideon again and posed it to my young adult small group at my church. for us to do a Bible study on Gideon on Monday, and lo and behold, or not even lo and behold, but the Spirit moving, my young adult lead was literally in reading Gideon himself. Like we did not say we was doing this. Like all this came about, and so here you bringing that up is just like it's encouraging to hear. It's encouraging to hear not only because let me just do Bible study real quick. Even the story of Gideon, like being double-minded, I've heard it preached that so much. But when I read it, I can see that. But what I see is like so much grace and God knowing Gideon individually, because God could have told him, I already told you to go, which he did. He said, go on the strength you have.
Right.
And Gideon asked for more than one sign, and God chose to give him those signs.
Yeah.
So, like to me, when I read that, I'm like, God knew him so well.
Yeah.
It wasn't like this, I'm questioning you as an affront to you, but like, Lord, help me hear you and make sure I know I'm hearing you clearly. Because I've had moments where I'm like, okay, was that me or was that you, Lord? Like, I need a little bit more clarity, because I think that might have been me, but that might have been you. But sorry, I don't want to take over the interview. Please go back.
That's great. I love it, man. I love it. Yeah, man. Drop that in there. They need to hear those things. Those references. Drop that in there, man. Like the word is the living word for a reason. It's not just a book of words that we've read that was written thousands of years ago. It's living today in each and every one of our lives as we read it. This stuff is unfolding, man. This stuff is happening. It's crazy. So, but I'm just saying as an example, when I write the songs, they could just be coming from a faith walk perspective. Like, hey, this is just like, you make me better. Like, I'm saying the song that you like better. Like, that's just that. And here are the reasons why. Or like the new song I released called Made Me. Like this song was just pretty much acknowledging, Lord, because you made me to worship you. And because of that, that's what I'm gonna do. You know what I'm saying? Period. And worship doesn't mean getting a microphone in front of some lights. Worship is everything you do in your life.
Listen,
you worship the Lord and how you love your kids, how you love your mom, how you encounter a stranger. You know what I'm saying? How you handle a situation.
How you abstain from the lust of the flesh. That is
how you abstain from the lust of the flesh. See, now I'm recently married, so I'm okay for I'm good right now.
Can I get some of that? Can we set a prayer up for that?
I'm okay. I'm good.
You know what? I'm walking in, but I too am ready to how do I want to frame this? Enjoy the blessings.
Solomon. Read that. Song of Solomon.
Enjoy the blessings. I'm gonna just leave it.
but yeah, man. Worship is everything that we do, man. And I think like in order to be in a place of true understanding, true worship in like just your life and what you do, man, you got to be in tune. You got to be connected, connected to that vine. You got to be connected to it.
And tell us, what is connected for you? How do you stay connected to God?
Man, connected for me, man, is reading the word, is tapping into sermons when I can, because we're not in church right now because some churches are closed. Making sure I'm hearing the word. The word says, faith comes by hearing and hearing of the word of God. So it's like, I need to make sure I'm hearing it. I need to make sure I'm spending that time just to thank the Lord and not just always asking for stuff. Just thanking him, Lord. I just thank you for this day. Give me what I need today. And then being open to the Spirit, being open to how certain things are happening. And instead of me reacting or responding immediately, it's like, okay, Lord, seeking the guidance, like, okay, Lord, what do I need to do in this situation? Lord, just give me wisdom. I pray for wisdom all the time. That's one of Lord, I just need wisdom in the situation.